Thank you for joining me. I'm Alex, and I want to go over stocks I sold in 2019. Now, technically, I went over all of these stocks in an analysis before, but I mainly just cover the stocks I buy and the reasons for buying them, and not really the reasons for selling them. So this is arguably the more important video. And there's many decisions that go into buying that don't necessarily go into selling. Mainly there's one reason for selling them, when basically just everything needs to come together to buy. Because generally I buy stocks to hold them forever, and selling stocks is a far more serious decision for me, because fundamentally there needs to be something going wrong between the time I buy them and the time that I sell them. Or I need to have made a mistake in buying them in the first place. So first we have Fitbit, which is one of the first stocks I bought. And the reason for buying them was it was under $5 and it sounded interesting. And Fitbit was a stock that I bought before I did analysis on stocks, and I just didn't have enough money to buy even one share of an index fund. And there was, I'm not sure if you could buy index funds in fractional shares for free at that point. So Robinhood was pretty much all I knew. So the competition increased significantly, and my main problem was that Apple had a watch that did, blood pressure and heartbeat monitoring, and was all around a better product for a fitness tracker than a Fitbit was. And the prices on those had also come down significantly. So you could buy a Fitbit for $80 and an Apple Watch for $200, and I just did not see a need for anyone ever to buy a Fitbit again. So that's why I sold them. Also, obviously, Fitbit did not inherently have a competitive advantage. I recently bought a fitness tracker for like $30 that does pretty much everything that a Fitbit does. So they're basically... they have major competition on the low end, and they have major competition on the high end. And what they are still able to sell is like a narrow band in the middle. So I really didn't think that Fitbit was worth it. Obviously, then Google announced that they're going to buy Fitbit, and I bought some shares, but still. AMD. AMD is a company that I still strongly believe in, and I question my reasons for selling them, which was that they were hugely overvalued, and it's gotten worse from there, significantly worse. So at the time that I sold them, they had a PE of about 130 and a price to sales ratio of like 6. And right now they have a PE of 250 or something like that. And I don't even know what the price to sales ratio is, but still, I really didn't think that they could grow fast enough for the valuation to make any sense at all. Now, that was before the chips came out that hugely crushed Intel's chips for like half the price. And that obviously pushed the stock higher, but I still think that they're hugely overvalued. And right now, I would probably buy an Intel over an AMD. For other reasons as well, but still. AMD being more competitive both in the CPU space as in the graphics card space is a good reason for buying them. It's just that they're so overvalued. So not upset about that one at all. Then we have iRobot. iRobot, basically for the same reasons as Fitbit. So they had a competitive advantage when they first came out with their robot vacuums, but I don't think that they really do anymore, because there's many other companies that are bringing out robot vacuums at this point, and there's way cheaper alternatives that do pretty much the same thing. So I really don't think that they really have the competitive advantage that justifies the higher cost. So I don't think that most people, when they consider a robot vacuum, are going for iRobot 1 when they could have something for half the price that does the same job. Obviously, they're a name brand, and they're going to be around for a while, but I really don't think that the price justifies the value that you get at this point. And then we have Ford, which I also bought very early, and I bought them because they were under $10 and they had a 6% dividend yield, which is pretty amazing. I just, they don't compete in the EV space. Somehow they did, and now they don't, which is just weird. But I really don't think that in the future they can compete with mainly Tesla, but also NIO, BYD, Rivian, Bollinger. There's many other startups that make electric vehicles that Ford just chooses not to compete with, and that will eventually lead to their demise. So what Tesla is doing is they're building factories for battery production that are needed 5 years in advance. So in 5 years, when Ford needs the batteries, there won't be any batteries for Ford to buy. And they just don't have the technology to compete, and they will not have the technology to compete. So by choosing not to compete right now, they're basically killing their future prospects. And that is the reason that I sold Ford. And despite the dividend yield, which is still pretty amazing, I don't think that I'll ever hold Ford again, unless they make hugely different choices and maybe release a competitive product at some point and actually produce it in high enough numbers, which I don't see happening because the global production of batteries is so low that only Tesla, buying their own batteries, can basically produce enough electric vehicles to satisfy demand. There's no other player there. So that's all of the stocks that I sold in 2019. Out of these, only really AMD I would be interested in buying again, but the price needs to come down significantly. Everything else, I mean, I bought Fitbit, but not for Fitbit. I bought Fitbit for Google. Wouldn't buy Fitbit for the company that Fitbit is, just that the fact that Google is buying them makes it a buy at this point. Anyway, that's it for me for today. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. I'm coming out with more videos every day before market open. I hope you have a successful day.